Hello and welcome to Table Talk, another episode where we give you short answers to topics. Today on the show we have Dan from Collective Shout, this amazing organization goes into schools all over Australia and helps with really harmful cultural kind of settings and porn culture and all that kind of stuff that we're trying to help kids. And it's exciting to have you here today, sir.
It's good to be in the studio. Thanks for having me, Dan.
Pumped. What are you bringing to the table today?
I thought we'd talk a little bit about social media, what kids are up to, what they're using, and just how parents can feel a little bit more empowered in a wild, wild west out there online.
Oh, this is going to be good. I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, so this is good to learn now. You know what I mean? I'm going to put some rules in now. So, social media, everyone's got it. Everyone lives on it. What are certain social media platforms our kids are using? And I don't want to say anyone's the bad guy, but are there ones that we should be more worried about than others?
I think let's just start with the acknowledgement that if kids are on social media, if they're on the internet, I always say if you're on the internet has access to you.
Yes. Okay.
And parents need to know this. And we don't want to say fearmonger, but at the same time, there are things to rightly be concerned about.
Being real.
Exactly. Being honest about it, being real about the realities, about what I hear from boys and how many of them get spammed by bots on Snapchat or TikTok with sexualized content, violent content. I've had boys click links and there's a strange man on the other end, talking live to them from years 6, 7, 8-year-old boys. And so this is the domain of their online existence that they're navigating. It's not a scary man in a white van. It's actually online 24/7 and helping young people to navigate that in a way where I think the most important message is putting messages into them from an early age where they know that they can talk to mum and dad.
Amazing.
So irrespective of the platform, I think there is a need for them to know that no matter what happens, that they're not in trouble, that they're not bad or wrong, and that mum and dad are safe, that mum and dad are there to help make sure they're okay, or any adult or carer that they feel comfortable speaking with.
Sure.
But of course, they're all on Snapchat, and by all I mean, from kind of age 12 and upwards. They're on TikTok, which obviously has huge concerns about some of the content being shown to kids. They're spending all night watching TikToks or watching YouTube, but primarily TikTok of just videos one after another because it is the infinite scroll. Do you know the guy that created the infinite scroll regrets it now?
Does he?
Because it was there for a good intention. So many of these things, like for example, one of the latest apps, Be Real, this whole idea of our lives are so curated online, everything's meant to be perfect. So Be Real is this idea of you've got a 2-minute warning to quickly upload where you are in the world and what's happening. But of course, you can imagine how that can also be misused and used to share inappropriate or compromising images of ourselves with other people. And so there's always a good intention for most of this stuff, but of course it can get so misused. And when we're talking about young people with not fully developed brains who don't always make the best choices, well, how can we equip and empower them to do this well?
Absolutely, because I think that's the beauty and the curse of the internet. We can learn so much. We are connected more than ever before. I have family in Canada. I can talk to them like that. But at the same time, there's also a dark side. So we obviously we need to learn how to use it effectively. So let's face it, these kids, they're not going to stop using the social media and all these kind of things where you just said the internet has access to them. So what can we as parents do to help monitor or just help really?
I think for me, framing it as this is a privilege, not a right that you have. And sometimes parents might use the argument, well, until you pay for your phone, well, then it's ours. But I even think that's a flawed argument because kids are smart. They show ingenuity. They go and buy their own phone and they say, well, I've paid for it, mum and dad, so you don't get to tell me what to do. So I think there has to be some sort of social contract, some understanding that this is a privilege, that this is something that you haven't fully developed all of the maturity and faculties to navigate. So how do we do this together?
Brilliant.
What does this look like? What are the time frames? Do people have phones, laptops, iPads in their rooms at night? Does everybody switch off? And I think if it becomes more of a cultural thing that we say in our family, well, yes, we need technology. It serves us. It helps us do our jobs. It helps us to learn, to stay connected. But how do we rightly respect it, but recognize, hey, this can also consume us? And I think by modeling that, are we present? Are we attentive? And like I said, I think having having those cultural conversations beforehand, that lines of communication are always open, because my biggest worry in my work is that young boys or young people in general may be exposed to things and they think, oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble. Or if someone starts to groom them online, or someone starts to speak to them or coerce them into things, they think, oh no, if I tell someone, I'm going to get in more trouble. So wanting to reinforce that message that they're never going to be in trouble. And I tell the students that, and then I beg their parents at the community parent evenings to say, I've told your sons that they're not in trouble, so please don't make them in trouble.
Don't yell at them.
Yeah. Be calm, be patient, listen, because if they're talking to you, that's a win.
Absolutely.
So let's encourage that. Let's respect that and cultivate that.
So good. And that's, I think I was talking to someone yesterday about this. The number one problem most people have in life is lack of communication. So it's beautiful. You open the communication lines early, then things are just easier. So say things do go bad online, what are some of the telltale signs that us parents and, like guardians and whatever, can see in our kids to know if something's not going right, whether it's like a manipulation or a blackmail, like to a more serious extent, a blackmail from, like an online predator?
I think some of the more overt signs are withdrawal, secrecy, being on the phone a lot, this obsessiveness about it. And I think just be graciously suspicious, not hard and authoritarian, but just graciously suspicious. And I think a part of that is, are there different behavioral practices? Are they not getting enough sleep? Are they restless? And again, that could just be from too much normal social media use, let alone anything nefarious. But I think recognizing that, and again, preventatively, so I will ask year 6 boys, hey boys, have you been preyed on by bots or predators in your Snapchat, TikTok feeds? And they'll say yes.
Wow.
They will just openly say that in front of their teachers, and they know, and because I tell them, you're not in trouble, right? So I think if parents can springboard off maybe something that's heard on the radio or on the news or a story, and sometimes it's not, hey, has this happened to you, but have you heard this happen, or have any of your friends had this happen to them, or what would you do if this happened, like would you know? And so I'll say, oh yeah, we block, we delete, and then I say and I'm always trying to cajole them to say, tell mum and dad, tell a trusted adult, which always is the hardest part to get out of them. But I even say that to the 15-16 year olds who obviously think they're big and mature and this will never happen to them and they can handle it all. But invariably, some of them have been groomed online and they have been catfished and they have sent things to predators. And I let them know that you're not in trouble. There are ways around this, or ways to resolve this through the e-safety commissioner, as well as through the local police. But you need to tell a trusted adult, you're not going to be in trouble. Let us help you we can all resolve this situation. So we need this peaceful sense of assurance that no matter what happens, we're going to support and protect you and make sure that you're okay.
Brilliant. Love that. And once again, it's the open lines of communication, here to help. So let's change focus from the parents to the tech companies who are actually making these apps. Is anything being done by the tech companies or the social media platforms to help actually protect kids?
Look, in essence, yeah, they do. Like you can see that they put age limits on certain things and ways that you can either be approached or can you get a DM? Can someone access you? What kind of material is presented to you is based on your age that you put in there. I think the difficulty is are we being honest about the age? Do we have oversight? Have we got other logins, other phones? It's like when parents say, oh, I've got, my son or daughter on Instagram, and I say to them, on their login, that they've given you access to, but there are others, and parents listening, I'm not saying that to instill fear, but these are the realities. So yes, in essence, like in theory, they do try to do stuff, but the reality is we know how big this is. We know that ultimately sexualized content, predatory content, grooming content, and some really violent and degrading ideas just seep through at younger and younger ages. Hence, we see that sexualized, inappropriate behavior at younger and younger ages. And so it's the risk parents take. I understand and respect why parents would delay, like giving their kids phones. And I think the hardest thing is going, but then are they going to be left out? And how do we handle that? Because these tech companies ultimately don't care as much as you do about your kids. They're there to make money. They know, for example, like Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram, they knew that over 2 hours a day on their platforms was seriously impacting the mental health of young people. And they hid that until a whistleblower brought that into the light. So you can't really say, you know, they're here advocating for young people's well-being. So it does require a community and a family-based approach, which is a lot to put on mums and dads in a time-poor society. But this is the well-being of kids. And I can tell you firsthand, working in schools, hearing the stories every day, that we definitely do need more support from companies and government. But yeah, unfortunately, until that happens, mums and dads and families are going to have to take up even more of that job to make sure their kids are safe online.
Wild. Well, look, hey, there's so much more we could talk about this, but it is Table Talk. They're short answers to tall topics, so we're going to leave it there. But if you want to hear anything else from Dan from Collective Shout, you can jump onto our YouTube, onto Table Talk, and see one of his past episodes, or you can head to
CollectiveShout.org.
There you go. Thanks so much for joining us today.